Baby chickens. Every single chicken you've ever seen in your life was once a baby chicken, or otherwise referred to as chicks. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to raise a baby chicken. But before we begin, we need to classify what we're going to use as a baby chicken. A baby chicken, from my opinion, is personally a chicken that's under 10 weeks old and doesn't have a fully developed cluck yet. Let's get into this video, and we're going to talk about everything you need to know. Although it's a bit late for chick buying season, there's still another time you can buy, and that's going to be in the spring, and that's going to be in the summer. So enjoy. Week 1 is one of the most important weeks in your chickens' lives. This 1 week can change everything for your chickens. So for this first week, this is what I want you to do. So first of all, that first day, I don't want you to get emotionally attached to your chickens just yet. Because for the first 2 days, what you want to do is you want to refrain from naming them until day 3. Because there could be chickens that just drop dead for no particular reason. That chicken was just not meant to hatch. You'll also sometimes find chickens, especially if you hatch them, that end up growing deformities. Pretty sure, I can't confirm this 100%, but one of my chickens, Kit Kat, I'm pretty sure, I don't remember the exact one. Actually, I can't confirm 100%, I just don't remember which chicken it was, had a deformity on her foot that required immediate medical attention, that had to separate her, like her toes, because of that sort of disorder. There's a lot of different disorders that come with chickens. Another thing is to keep them under the heat lamp. You want to keep looking out for them. This is how you build that emotional bond with them over time, but you want to keep looking out for them, just to make sure they're in that heat lamp, because if they're not, there will be serious issues. They will be potentially at risk if they're not under there. You also want to give them chick feed, which is really specific. You can probably find this at Tractor Supply. Give them as much water as possible, but don't give them so much they could drown in it. You want to get a smaller waterer and a smaller feeder, so that way they can't get it stuck into the feeder or go into the feeder and cause a massive mess. You also want to provide fresh shavings during this 1 week. You want to clean it expect about 1 to 2 times a week, maybe 3 if you have really messy chickens. If this is your first time raising chickens, I'd recommend not getting any more than 9, and during this time period, there is no way to tell if you have a rooster or not. That'll be coming up later. Now that we're on to week 2, at this point, the chances of your chicken dying for no reason is significantly lower, as at this point they've learned the brooder pretty well. At this point, you can finally begin determining which ones are hens and roosters. There's no really big changes you might notice, although you will notice their down begins to turn into feathers. The down, if you're wondering, is like a little fur. It looks like fur. It looks like they do have feathers, but they'll begin gradually growing it at this point. It doesn't begin growing really strongly until like week 8 or 9. That's when it's ridiculously noticeable and just about all their down is gone. At this point, it's pretty obvious which one is a rooster. Not quite yet, but like they begin developing combs. The rest of them have tinier combs. By this point, it should be pretty obvious who's a hen or who's a rooster, and it's really easy to actually tell. I want you to still keep them on chick feed, obviously, but at this point you can be experimenting. At this point, what I want you to do is I want you to drop their brooder temperature from 90 degrees to 80 degrees, because this is when they begin gradually dropping their brooder temperature. Usually, the more ethical way to do it is 5 degrees every week, but I'd recommend keeping it at 90 for the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then gradually dropping it down to 80 by the end of the 4th week. If it's already 80 degrees outside, you can begin experimenting with them outside, but keep them under extremely close protection, because baby chickens are the world's biggest morons, if you don't already know. At this point, it's pretty much safe to name them. If you guys want a naming tutorial, I have plenty of them on my channel, or you could look one up yourself. At this point, it's pretty obvious who's a rooster. They're not quite yet ready to crow. They'll begin crowing when about 4 to 6 weeks old, but pretty much after this point, then they will begin crowing. At this point, the chicks begin developing more and more down, and at this point, it is pretty much safe to experiment going outside. This is usually when most chicks have their first experience going outside. Now, here's a rule of thumb. I wanted to teach you this really quickly. If you're going to let your chickens outside, what you want to do is you want to find a good day. The temperature outside has to be that or higher than the brooder temperature that they should be for that week. So, subtract 5 degrees from 90 every week for, let's just say, 5 weeks. We're going to be subtracting 25 degrees, so it should be, 65 degrees at the very least outside, or it might be 75, I'm stupid, I don't remember off the top of my head. It's like 65, I think, so that's the perfect temperature to let them outside, and even higher than that is better, but you don't really want to go crazy with it, just let it go slowly. And also at this point, roosters begin crowing. Although people say they begin crowing at like 10 weeks old, it's really like 4 to 6 weeks old for most roosters. Week 6 through 8 is when at this point you can pretty much tell who's a rooster, as I was saying. I don't really need to keep saying, oh, this is when you are going to be expecting this chicken to be a rooster. No, I don't have to say that anymore, because at this point it's pretty much a given. Unless you have a rooster like Falcon or Snow White, who looks like a hen, grows like a hen, has similar feathers to a hen, and then randomly just decides to flip to the dark side of being a rooster. Unfortunately, like 45% of all, more like 65% of all eggs that are hatched are roosters. Back on track though, at this point they're beginning to develop a cluck. So you might notice a few of them already clucking, and if you haven't heard any crowing yet, but you're kind of like paranoid that one of them is a rooster and you hear clucking, you can automatically scratch that chicken off your rooster list because you know it's a hen. Roosters don't make those type of noises. They will make a way different sound. They don't usually cluck as much as they crow. Unfortunately, they crow too much most of the time, so it really hurts my ears. Another pretty big thing is that at this point their feathers are pretty much all there, so if they're fully feathered, they could go outside. Usually once your chickens are completely feathered, regardless of the conditions, as long as it's not dipping below like 32 degrees at night, you can pretty much put them outside. At this point, it's either the fall or the spring, at around 6 to 8 weeks after you got them, so they're pretty safe to go outside, I'd say. Unless you got them in like August or September, then you might be getting some frost. Or maybe you live in the tropics where it's like 70 degrees all year. I'm jealous of you. We got 1.5 inches of snow last week. It's April, yo. Can we just stop getting this stuff, man? Alright, at this point, this is when most people will begin moving their chickens outside, and for a really good reason. At this point, the temperature is warm enough, for the most part, and they're fully feathered, so at this point they begin moving outside. It's a great time to get them introduced to the outside world. You want to do it slowly but surely over the course of a few weeks. You want to put them in a nice coop, and to keep them well nice and secured, you want to keep them in that coop for about a day and a half, but provide them with water in there. Afterward, a quick tip: don't put the water in the coop. Leave it outside. They don't need it overnight. As long as you have an auto coop door, then it's all good, man. For real.